Hi, this is a training video to talk about how to set up your new laser check die from Rock Canyon Munitions. What we see here now is the display that you will have once your system has been installed and set up. There are a handful of buttons here that are important for us to take a look at. Let's go through them one at a time so you understand what's happening. First, over here on the right side is the set button. We're going to use this to set the depth of the charge for the laser check die. Second is the mode button. That's the button right here off to the right on the top of the receiver that you will use to change the screens as we're going through some of the settings. Third is there's a toggle button here at the top. There is a plus and a minus here. This will allow us to change the values that you're going to see on the screen here on the left hand side when we do the check in just a moment. Okay. Now let's do a cycle of the press so we can see how this is going to work through the cycling. What we saw there as it went through the cycle is the depth that it was using as a default. But now what we want to do is set the depth properly with our charged case. Now that we have our charged case into the shell plate, let's go ahead and set the depth for the laser check die. Right now, the default values of 120 and 120 are on the top and the bottom of the display. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cycle the press, bring it down to the very bottom, and get a value with the charged case in place with the laser check die. In my case, I'm going to use the move to bottom capability of my press. You can use the move to bottom or the jog up or jog down, whichever makes the most sense for you. Okay, now that we have the head lowered, let's go ahead and set the values. The first step, as we talked about, is we're going to use the set button here and press and hold that button for a couple of seconds. We'll see the screen blink. The set button is flashing, so now we have set our value to 86.9. Now, on the left-hand side of the screen, what you see is the high value and the low value is set at 86.9 as well. But that's not going to work for us. So what we need to do now is set the high value and the low value of an acceptable charged case that we can use. So we're going to go ahead and use the two arrow buttons at the top that I talked about before. Let's go ahead and use the left button, and we'll see the low number is set. And we're going to go ahead and lower this value to an acceptable value. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and put a variance and set this to 84.0. Now we have the ability to go to the top value by hitting the mode button here on the right hand side, which highlights the 86.9 at the top. Let's go ahead and change that value now. And we're going to raise that value up now. For right now, for the purposes of this, let's go ahead and set it to 89.0. That means now that we have these two values that are set, which is 84.0 on the bottom and 89.0 at the top. That means any case that comes through the sensor that measures a value between 84.0 or 89.0 will be an acceptable case. The other thing that you'll notice here on the left-hand side is the green light will turn on. It goes from amber to green, and what that means is this is now an acceptable case. I'm going to go ahead and raise the head now to the top. So let's put a couple of cases through here and see how it measures. I'll put my charge case underneath the sensor once again, and I'm going to do a single cycle with the press to see how the value goes. And what we see here is the green light turn on at 86.7, which is really good. Let's do another test again to see how that works. Single cycle the press. 86.9 again, so this is perfect. We're going to do it one more time, except this time I'm going to jog it all the way to the bottom just so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to jog it down all the way to the bottom, and the sensor is 86.9 with the light being green, which is an acceptable value or acceptable case that will work for us. Okay, let's put a couple cases into the shell plate and let's see how this does. What we're looking for is that green light each time it cycles. We're going to do 2 cases. Let's see how that does by starting the press. Okay, we got a green light there, which is good. And then we have the second one, and we got a green light, which is good once again. Okay, we're going to do that one more time, just so you can see how the green light is turning on and the values that we're getting as the press is cycling. Here we go. We're going to press run. 87.5, that's a good one. 86.7, another good one. Okay, one thing I want to make sure that we talk about just for a moment here. What you're going to find as the press is cycling is this number is going to vary just ever so slightly. The green light will still turn on, but the value here will vary slightly. That's because as the powder is flowing, of course, it's not exactly the same every single time. As the press is cycling, what you're going to find is this value will vary ever so slightly. What you want to be sure you do is set the high value and the low value that's on the left-hand side of a case that is acceptable based on the variance as the press is running, that it will be an acceptable case for you. Thanks for joining us on how to set up your laser check die so you get quality, repeatable case checks every single time.